Yeah. Hey, what's up? We're professional here. I'm eating a fucking protein bar. So yeah, it's weird doing the monologue intro. It's like something new that I'm not used to. I'm not used to doing this monologue intro to the podcast, but here we go. It's a format that was made popular. It was popularized by Mr. Mark Maron, where he talks about himself before he goes into the actual interview portion. And, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan Experience. Not really. But I've definitely been privy to it and watched a lot of his interviews with more notable human beings. I don't necessarily think he's the smartest dude in the world. He's just a dude. Same thing with me. I'm not the smartest dude in the world. I'm just a dude. But I remember it was 2017, and we were watching Maron's TV show on IFC. And I was with my ex at the time. And I just remember thinking he was a very likable guy. Yeah. So the first 15 or 20 minutes of his podcast is him talking. Not saying I'm a likable guy, but I stole the format. It's the same fucking format, except it's a video thing. I'm talking to a video screen. So this is me. This is the monologue portion of SUPcast, episode 55. And I believe this is where I plugged the sponsor to. I got this fucking bitchin' new lens. This 16 millimeter lens, but here we go. The Wendigo Tea Company. Still sponsoring the podcast after all these months. 6 months into the pandemic. And yeah, I'm having a personal crisis. I got off the social media. And once I realized that, hey, my identity is so wrapped up in being that guy that's in that band, the guy that's up on stage saying those things, and the guy who's putting out those songs, and the guy that's playing that music. My identity is so wrapped up into that once I got rid of the social media, what now? Who am I? Who is Neil Patterson really? And I talked to my friend Josh from Psychostick, and I don't want to go over the ins and outs of what we talked about, and I don't want to repeat myself. You should just listen to the goddamn interview. Listen to the goddamn interview. We can go right into it. But real quick, I want to tell a little anecdote. Last night, I was a total dick, and I'm not very pleased with myself. My girlfriend has her candle company is blowing up on Etsy. And right by our bed is her workstation where she makes and she sends out these custom candles where she does a Photoshop thing. And she puts people's dead relatives on these prayer candles or people's pets on these prayer candles. And it's blowing up. And she's doing very well. And I'm very proud of her. And she works really hard at it. But where she's working is right by the bed. And it's funny because I have a whole office. This is my whole office thing where I record the music, I do the podcast, and I make a lot of noise. And for all intents and purposes, she's killing it. And I'm just a dude that's making stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm killing it. I am producing stuff. I'm making things. Am I killing it? That's all subjective. But I found myself waking up. Because I go to bed early. She doesn't. I wake up super early. She doesn't. And so she's working on her stuff. I pass out shortly after dinner and we watch American Dad. Or we watch The Boys. Or we watch something on TV and I pass out. I eat my edible. I eat my food. We cuddle on the bed. And I'm passed out by the time we're in maybe the third episode or something. And I'm like, okay, I'm sleeping. And then I wake up and all of a sudden, she's doing what she does. Which is she's working on her shit and she's making noise and there's lights on. And it's funny because it's so hypocritical for me to fucking scream at her about, you're always doing this candle shit and the fucking lights are on and I'm a light sleeper and your printer's too loud and you're packing boxes and I'm trying to sleep, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go sleep in the other room. There's only 2 rooms. There's 2 rooms in our apartment. So I just became a super dick. And I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. But what's funny is when I'm coming after her for being too loud, when she literally is in the other room when I'm on stream going blah, 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 and making stupid noises, go, there's a place in France. Yeah, and I'm doing my podcast, blah, 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 talking very loudly. I'm recording vocals. I'm playing instruments. I'm loud as fuck. And she loves me. And she puts up with all the stupid noises that come out of my mouth. And it's just telling that when I'm inconvenienced by the sounds of her passion, of her work, I'm going to go after her? I mean, granted, it was like I came out of a dead sleep, and I feel like a lot of times where it's like you took a bunch of Xanax. I don't know if you've ever taken a benzodiazepine. It's like a truth serum of sorts, and you're just like, blah, blah, blah. Like you just say stuff. Your inhibitions are lowered. Or when you're drunk, you say and do things that you wouldn't do if you were in control. It's no excuse, but this is the fact, is like when you wake up out of a dead sleep, you're acting impulsively. There's no inhibitions. You just are a fucking garbage dump coming out of your mouth. Yeah, and I dug at her with my words. I was a dick. And it fucks me up because like she's so incredibly supportive of all my dumb activities. And these are activities that don't necessarily garner, they're not necessarily lucrative. Like the things that I do. I'm not, I'm working, I'm putting in work, but am I making a whole lot of money? No. If she's putting in work and she's banking, she's making millions of dollars off these. No, not really, but she's doing well. She's doing well. So who the fuck am I? We live in an apartment with 2 rooms. Who the fuck am I to get up and tell her she's being too loud? Dude. She lives with me. I am loud and obnoxious. So it's like, what the fuck, Neil? And then I go to bed and my hip hurts and my Achilles tendon hurts, and I'm pushing 40, and I'm just telling myself as I'm going to bed, I'm like, I fucking hate you, Neil. I hate you. You're fucking worthless. You ain't shit. You're a fucking failure. That Jacob Collier guy, that British fucking sexy, young, skinny guy that knows about all those fucking atonal harmonies and halftones and all that shit you don't even understand because you're a fucking ape, Neil. You're nobody. Everything that you've done has amounted to nothing. These are the type of conversations I have with myself as I'm going to bed. And then I wake up and I'm like, now it's today. Now it's today. What do I tell myself? My therapist says, go to the bathroom and tell yourself you love you every day. What happens when you go to bed hating yourself and your homework from your therapist is to tell yourself that you love yourself? It's hard. It's hard. Go to bed hating yourself. Wake up loving yourself. So guess what? I didn't go to the fucking bathroom and go in the mirror and tell myself that you're good, Neil. I love you. I didn't do any of that. But you know what I did do? I talked to my friend Josh from Psychostick. And it's nice to have a meaningful conversation with someone in the same profession. And I feel bad because a lot of times I'm like talking to these people and I'm looking for answers. And I'm talking to my intelligent friends. I'm like, give me some fucking answers. And luckily for me, like Josh was very open and transparent and he had some suggestions for your boy, Neil, me. And we're going to get into that interview now. And I don't know what to say. If you can see it in my eyes, I'm fatigued. If I go like this, I look like the dad from Coraline. Check this out. I'm the dad from Coraline. Yes, I'm the dad from Coraline. And if you're listening to this podcast, which not many people do, you won't see this visual. Yes, I'm the dad from Coraline. I'm the dad from Coraline. Yeah, that's what my face looks like when I'm really tired. I'm the dad from Coraline. But without further ado, let's get into the interview here because, God damn it, this is a SUPcast. This isn't a Neil pre-therapy. This is actually like pre-therapy. Talking to Josh was pre-therapy because I have therapy later today. And then this, talking to myself, is pre-therapy. So we have pre, and then I will have the actual therapy later on today. It's just, it's a lovely day. It's a lovely day to just talk about your feelings until you're blue in the fucking Coraline's dad's face. Ugh. So anyway, let's get into it. I hope everyone's doing well. And like Josh was saying, we're going through it right now, collectively, as humans. We're going through it, whether or not you want to admit it or not. You're not as strong as you think you are. And if you're like me, you know you're weak as shit. So, beginner's mind. Open to ideas. And that's the mindset I went into with my conversation with my friend Josh from Psychostick. I went in with an open mind, and now I just want to read some books. So here you go. Here it is. SUPcast number 55, the podcast that keeps on crying. Ah. Stupid face.
Here's my stupid face.
Here's my stupid face.
We both have stupid faces.
Yeah,
yes.
Hey, check out our stupid faces. So hey, we're rolling. We're here. We're in the interview, and we're rolling, and we're recording multiple records.
We're recording the audio on backup. We're recording the video stream on backup. We're just recording everything all the time.
It's almost overkill, but you need to be safe. Well,
No. You know how many things can go wrong?
For a minute there, I was live streaming all the podcasts, and it's just I pay for 20 megabytes per second upload speed, and the problem is it's coax, A, and B, I live in like a kind of an impoverished neighborhood in Long Beach, and there's the cable guy actually showed me the box. And he's like, that's where everyone's cable coax is going into. And it's this box that looks like it's about to burst. There's so many cables going into it. It looks like it. And he's just like, it's just not dependable. Like, you pay extra money for the nice internet. And I'm streaming. And when I was streaming with Maddie J, like, we were an hour and a half into the podcast and it just cut. It just went bye-bye. So
it's only as good as the hardware running and the actual physical. There has to be a physical thing for internet to happen. And not people realize this. It doesn't just magically happen. You have to hook up cables and shit, and physical components cause problems. And if your physical components are shit, then your internet connection will inevitably be shit no matter what service you pay for.
I just think there's too many people there, because in California, it's just people living on top of people. But one weird statistic about our neighborhood, 98% of the people who live here are renting, which means it's all property companies came and bought up this historical area of Long Beach, and essentially they're just, it's just a bunch of poor people being held hostage for exorbitant rent. Like over $1,000 for a 1-bedroom.
Oh, LA rent is. I don't even want to know, man. I don't want to know. Don't even tell me.
Why did I come out here?
I don't want to know how much you're paying rent.
So anyway, the intro to the podcast is me. I do like a monologue and then I introduce you, and I'm gonna cut this up too. So like if anything is weird, but here is Josh from Psychostick. It's Josh from Psychostick, and thanks for being on the show. This is episode 55 of my podcast. I started the podcast. The whole motif was I'm in a van interviewing bands and creative people and weirdos. But the unique part of it was I'm in a van, and then COVID happened. You can't necessarily I'm not Joe Rogan. I can't afford a COVID test for every one of my guests.
I guess you could take your podcast setup out to a van, but that would be really odd. Cumbersome.
It's just it got to the point where now we're doing these Zoom things, and this is the format.
It's how it's done.
Yeah, this is the format. Everything now is socially distanced. It's over the internet, and we are many, many miles apart, thousands even of miles apart. And here we are. We're having a discussion on what day is it? Is it Tuesday?
Yes, it is Tuesday.
So how are things, man? You're back. You're back to Illinois, correct?
Yeah, I'm back. I've been back for a couple months, month and a half to 2 months now, and I'm finally getting back into a groove. It was kind of rough coming back. It's kind of rough coming back and getting back into the swing of things after dealing with just crisis at home. So,
where is home for those who don't know?
Well, I currently reside in the Chicago suburbs, Joliet. But I grew up in West Texas, Odessa, Texas, and due to a death, 2 deaths in the family, I spent a lot of time this summer down there in Texas dealing with emotional shit and problems and stuff. You know, death is really a pain in the ass paperwork wise.
Yeah.
No one really knows this. It's like the most adulting thing that you could do. You know, it's like dealing with your parents' death. Like, okay, I got to go in and fill out paperwork. I got to send, you know, companies, they need these death certificates to prove that the person's like dead. So you're like doing paperwork. It's like, I just lost my father. I don't want to do paperwork. Don't make me do paperwork. Losing my dad was bad enough. Why? Yeah. And then there's a bunch of headaches. And then there's there's a probate process, which I don't even want to get into that. But yeah, it's like, they don't even the way, I forgot who told me this, was like, they don't even make it easy to die. Like,
yeah.
They don't even make it easy to die, man.
It sounds like a comedy bit. It sounds like that would be like a lengthy comedy bit.
There has to be one out there somewhere. So if you find it, let me know, because I need it.
Yeah. I mean, when my dad died in 2016, my sister was the executor, and he didn't have a last living will and testament. He didn't have anything. He had something scrawled on a piece of paper, which essentially was considered after his death to be his last will and testament. And my sister had to deal with the legalities of all that. So bless her heart. I'm my mother's executor. So, you know, when the time comes when she passes, I'm definitely going to have to go down that road myself.
I just went down it, so call me.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's good to know.
I can help. Because someone helped me. Because I was really surprised whenever Dad died, how many people reached out, and people I didn't expect too. And it's you tell it's people that have dealt with that before, and they're like, oh, so it's almost like I feel like almost like a pay it forward kind of thing. It's like, well, someone I was helped out, therefore, when someone else goes through it, I should be helping them out. You know, I got help. You know, so yeah, but it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it sucks.
Yeah, it well, like I was telling you before we actually went live, having my dad die was a really pivotal moment for me, because I didn't realize up until that moment, and I didn't realize for maybe a year or two afterwards, that most of the motivation for me to be who I was trying to prove that guy wrong, which is really intense, because it makes you look back at all the years of okay, so I'm going to start this band and I'm going to make it work at all costs, and I'm going to get obsessed with the idea of becoming successful on my terms, so I could show this guy that bullied me my whole life that
you could rub his face in it.
Yeah,
man.
Bro, I did it. And this is the thing, is I didn't really do it the way I wanted it to, you know, the outcome didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, A, and B, once he went away, I was like, where's the motivation? And I don't know.
Who are you proving yourself to, you know?
and then that's where the whole journey began for me. It's and dude, I'm still at the bottom of the mountain looking up. It's who the fuck am I really? What is motivating me to be? What is my purpose? Bro, I'm about to turn 40 here, and I don't have any of these answers. And you think by now I would have a career, I would be successful at something I worked 20 years towards, and I would have a leg to stand on. Not to get all personal, but that's where I'm at right now. I don't know if you had a similar relationship with your father. I don't know what the dynamic was.
Oh, first of all, let's address the 40 thing. It's I'm 41 now, and you know, I've done a lot of crap with Psychostick. You know, I played in a festival in Germany, and I've played in other, you know, played 3 tours in the UK, 2 of them in a bus. I've actually toured in a bus. I've done that thing. It's I've done the dream, right?
Yeah.
And I still feel that way after turning 40.
Yeah.
You know, it's you think that oh, I turned 40. Okay. Yeah. It's no shit, I'm 40. And it's so I'm facing that. It doesn't, I think it doesn't matter what you do. You're still going to face that existential crisis when you hit 40, which I'm on the other end of now. So,
okay,
it's really not that bad. It's just a perspective thing.
So
it's just a fucking number. It's a number.
Yeah. So there's hope,
it comes down to. But my dad, you asked me about my dad. my dad was a very kind man, but a very kind of emotionally distant man too, like most of his life. He's kind of an enigma to me, but it's like it's more about like what he did. And what he did was step up and take care of my mom, who had health problems like most of my life. Like starting with 10 years old, she got an infection in her foot because she was diabetic, and then they had to amputate it. And that caused all sorts of problems because she, it's hard to get around once you're an amputee. And then it got infected and they had to take it off again. And then the morale in the house and the family just tanked. And there was like depression, a lot of frustration stuff. And my dad never left. And they celebrated they made it to 51 years.
Oh, wow.
Like they celebrated their 50th anniversary a couple years ago. And my dad, like he had the option to leave, and it's like he wasn't even rewarded for it. It's like things never really got better. It's like the health problems never really went away. The costs of the health problems, that's where the big problem is. It's like I realized that, like, oh wait, I get it. I'm pissed off at the healthcare system because it just wrings people dry for money. We treat diseases rather than cure them, but that's a whole other thing I don't want to get into. But
that's a biggie.
That's like 3 podcasts right there. Yeah. We know that the healthcare subject, that's a touchy one.
Yeah.
But overall though, I had a very good relationship with my dad, and I miss him like hell, man. Damn, I had no idea, because I was never like super, super close with him, but he was always there, and it's like, man, that hole, I had no idea how big that hole would be once it was gone. And it definitely makes you think about, who you are and what you want. And it's like, for me, it's just like, oh, I'm going to die someday too. It's just like, if my dad can die, that means I'm going to die, which means that life is precious and life is short. So I need to get, like, if I'm going to do some stuff, I got to do that stuff. It doesn't matter if we're in a pandemic or not. Like, I got to get to it, because you only live once. And at the same time, I was reading a lot of Marcus Aurelius, he was a Roman emperor that was also a philosopher. He was known as like one of the good emperors, one of the good 5, and he was like a really respected emperor because he was actually voted into power rather than just like being given it, like through inheriting it. But he talked a lot about like how short life is, and that really spoke to me. It's like, because even if things are crappy, there is a potential for things to be good. Even if your life is in total shit, it's like, you at least have the potential to make it not shitty. But if you don't exist, then it's just nothing.
Right.
Which if you're it's just nothing. Which, by the way, you've already been dead. Think about it. You've already been dead. You've been dead way longer than you've been alive. If you think about like the amount of time that existed before you came into being, you've already been dead. So there's no reason to fear death because you've already been. Unless you get in the whole religious thing. But if you're like, straight up, and I know how you tend to like what your views on the world are. It's like, if you're worried about just there being nothingness, well, you've already experienced nothingness, so it's no big deal. So, but for me, it's like, well, that just means that now is the time for activity,
Yeah.
It's like, if we're alive, that means that there's a potential for activity and everything. And
so many activities.
And this mental health thing that we're wanting to talk about today is very, very important because it gets in the way. Like, just we get in our own way in so many ways, and we don't know what to do about it, and we don't want to talk about it, and we don't want to be honest with ourselves, and we won't be honest with each other about it, and we sweep it under the rug, and we focus on like, well, if I have this $1 million mansion and a nice car, then I'll be happy. It's like, no, you won't. No, you fucking won't. If you're miserable now, you're going to be miserable later. It doesn't matter what comes into your life. You'll be happy for a short period of time, but pretty soon that novelty wear off and you'll be right back to being miserable. So you got to get a handle on that. That's what you got to get a handle on. The shit that you were dealing with with your dad that you realized you had to tackle. It's like, it was just so clear. It's like you had to tackle that stuff. You couldn't run from it anymore,
Yeah, well, I kind of didn't realize that until very recently. Once I disconnected from social media for the first time in 15 years. So when MySpace came out in 2005, that's when that's when that validation that I sought through like being a rock band guy, or I told a little anecdote on my podcast of how I would, when I was a little kid, I was pretty decent at drawing, and I would always draw around other people so they could see what I was doing, and then they could tell me I was good because no
validation.
Yeah. So, but I didn't realize that when I was a little kid, it's like I wasn't getting that. Well, not even like when I was in my 30s, I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that shit went from middle school, me being like, someone tell me I'm good, to me being in my 20s on MySpace, someone tell me I'm good, to me being in my 30s on fucking Facebook, Instagram, whatever, YouTube, someone tell me I'm good. You know, and it's like, dude, I'm fucking about to be 40 here, and I'm just realizing this. Oh, you're literally a validation addict because you can't give yourself that. And that's what I have therapy later today. I'm going to be having that same conversation. My therapist is going to ask, did you look in the mirror and tell yourself that you loved yourself today? And I'm going to be like, no, I woke up and drank a bunch of coffee because I had to do a podcast. But this is like, okay, so Josh, this is pre-therapy right now.
All right, pre-therapy. Hell yeah. In addition to just like telling yourself, it's like, I find that it's very valuable to look back at the things that you've done that you honestly feel good about. It's like we put such high standards on ourselves for the things that we're not doing, the things that we're doing wrong, that we don't even take time to acknowledge what we've done right. And there are things you've done in your past that are facts. You know, I have seen you rock fucking audiences, dude. It's like you've made people fucking happy. It's like that is a fact. It's not something that you're like, oh, I feel good about myself. It's like, and you're like trying to convince yourself, no, that actually happened. So just all you gotta do is just recognize it. It's like you can always look back and find things to be proud of, and if you focus on those and acknowledge those, it's even like at the end of every day, I will review my day. And I'll say, okay, you know, what went right today? What went wrong? And it's like, what did I feel good about that I did? What did I do today that I did right? You know, and it's amazing how many times you just don't even acknowledge those simple things if you don't take time to. It's like, you know what? I did a really good job handling this situation.
Yeah.
And it's really weird. Like when you recognize that you did a good, it makes you want to do more of a good.
Right,
you know?
right. I did a good.
Like, you know what? I'm going to do that again.
Yeah.
But you need that awareness, though. You need to bring it into your awareness, and it doesn't come into awareness if you're just like beating yourself up and feeling like a piece of shit all the time. You know. So
that's what I'm best at.
That's my addition to your pre-therapy.
Yeah, but you know, ultimately, that's what I'm best at. Is I spent my whole childhood being told I wasn't doing anything right, and now there's an internal voice that lives with me that's constantly beating myself up, telling me, oh, you know, you ain't shit.
Yep.
You ain't shit. And
the inner critic.
And no matter,
I have one too. I got one of those.
I think everybody does.
Yeah, and I think that certain things that certain situations will tend to trigger that and bring it out more than others. You know, like situational, like I'm sure that like, you know, there's things where you feel great about yourself for doing, and, you know, and then other things that you feel like you're shit at and you should be better, you know? And so just recognizing like where that voice is the most prevalent, I think there's a lot of use in that, you know, like if I wake up like late, if I oversleep, I just feel like shit all day. I'm like, I woke up, slept in too damn late. I'm a lazy piece of shit. And then I'm not motivated to do anything. And then I don't do anything. And then I beat myself up for not doing anything.
It's a vicious cycle, man.
Yeah, it is. And I finally found a hack for that one. Just get started on something. And it just kind of just focus on getting started, not finishing anything, just getting started. And then like, once you get started, your mood changes. And then like, oh, why was I not in the mood to do this? I'm having a great time. Now I'm working on the song, or, you know, putting together this like set list or whatever, or dealing with this, you know, the merch, whatever. But if I get off on the wrong foot and I'm not aware that I got off on the wrong foot, then it's just the whole day can be ruined, you know? And I'm like just tearing myself to shreds and not even realizing I'm kind of doing it. So weird, you know?
I feel like so much
Things are weird.
Things are weird. I feel like so much of it has to do with perspective. And if I'm in possession of a positive perspective, then I can have a great day. But like last night, I had a great day. I was very productive. I beat a video game. I don't play video games, but I downloaded Day of the Tentacle, the point and click Lucas. You know the Lucas Arts?
Day of the Tentacle? I've never heard that. It sounds fun though.
Maniac Mansion, the Monkey Island series. Did you ever play the point and click adventure series? The Lucas Arts games?
I remember Maniac Mansion.
Yeah. Well, George Lucas pretty much started a video game division in the 80s, late 80s. And they made these graphic adventure, these point and click games where like you can't die, but you have to solve all these puzzles. And I beat a video game. And then I drew a picture. And what else did I do? I don't know. I had a productive day. But the thing is all it took was for me to get in a negative mindset at the end of the day, and that negated all of the positive things that I did during the day, and I ended up going to sleep hating myself and being very hard on myself, and I was a jerk, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
In a summary, it was bad.
So,
it was not a good. It was a bad.
Exactly. So for me, all it takes is like a slight tip of that perspective, and then I just go I nosedive into negativity, and it's fucking gnarly. You've seen it happen to me on tour with you guys.
Listen, I remember it happened on stage one time too. Like you had a bad day and something happened, and it's like something's wrong today, and like you're like, and like no one, the audience didn't know, but I could tell. It's like, no, he's genuinely pissed right now. It's like he's not acting like he's I'm acting like a pissed. Like no, he's legitimately pissed, and people are thinking it's funny, but I know what's going on.
There was
the spiral is real, but I think the important thing is not to like be upset that those things happen. It's to, well, it happened. What can I learn from it? What can I do differently? What happened? What went wrong? And always be not expecting ourselves to be better than we are, like right out the gate. Think of it more as a process. It's like the same mindset that thinks like I should be better is the same one that thinks that like, oh, I'm going to start working out today and lose 40 pounds automatically. It's like, no, you got to do it for a while. If you want to detox your system, you got to eat healthy for a while, not just for a couple days. And then you can't just like, watch some uplifting movie or read some memes and like, feel better and then get motivated and clean out your basement, feel good about it. And then that's all you do. And then you're back to feeling like a piece of shit, 2 days later. It's like, it's a process.
Yeah.
It takes time and you stick with it and you just keep chipping away at it,
I'm super impatient. No,
this is not what I want to hear at all.
Dude, I want to flip a switch and I want to be happy every single day till I'm dead. I just want, where's that switch? But yeah, it's a lot of work, and I haven't even begun.
I mean, well, that's our plight in general as human beings. We're just really bad at doing things over a period of time. It's like there's so much valuable when we do. If you start setting aside a little money every paycheck and investing it or whatever, or if you just eat a little healthy every day, or tell someone you love them every day, it's like every single day, there will be a cumulative effect.
Yeah.
But we're human. We want it now.
Yeah.
I want now because biology says I want it now. It's all about like the immediate instant gratification. And there's a lot of benefit in like learning to think long term. It's just hard. It just does not come naturally to us as people. It's like if someone's good at that, it's because they fucking learned and somebody taught them how. It's not in our DNA. We want to eat that cheeseburger and then we want to eat the whole cake after. Myself, I have to resist the cake. I love frosting.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people know this about me. And I love sugar, but I don't really eat sugar much anymore. And for long-term reasons, every now and then I'll splurge. But it's had I get a lot of, comments like, hey, Josh, you lost a lot of weight. I'm like, what'd you do? It's like, I just gave up sugar. I gave up the instant gratification of, double oatmeal cream pies that they have at gas stations for 50 cents, man. Those are my vice.
Oh, yeah. The
gas station food on tour, and you're just having a shitty day and you want a sweet thing to make you feel better. It's dangerous, man.
It's absolutely dangerous. And they say the chemical reaction that occurs in the brain is similar to that of cocaine, at least the reward response of sugar. And
I believe it.
And this is my question for you. Now you're on tour. You go into a gas station. What can you get at a gas station that doesn't have a shitload of sugar in it, or B, some sort of like cancer-causing artificial sweetener? And the answer is not much.
Not much at all. There's the bananas that they usually have, and hopefully they're not like all old and shit.
Yeah.
And there's nuts if you can find the ones that aren't like loaded down with salt, and that's about it. And every now and then, if you go to a truck stop, they'll tend to have more options. They'll have like sandwiches and salads and stuff like that. But it's not always the best quality. It's like, no, it's really hard to eat healthy on the road. It's really hard to do for many reasons.
Delineating a tiny bit now, essentially for dudes like you and I who spent a lot of time in vans, driving around, loading gear, sweating, and doing it over and over again for a period of like weeks and or months at a time. Do you miss it now that we're in this pandemic and we're forced to,
now that's taken from us?
Yeah, it's the thing we thought would always be there, and now it's not.
Yes and no. I have mixed feelings on that because I just miss the feeling of playing a show in front of like a audience, like losing their shit. That's a great feeling. And I have a lot of friends that I met on the road, and I miss them. Hanging out with them. That's like one of the little hidden aspects of touring that people don't know, is just how many friends you make, and like just how it just becomes like a habit. You go back through. It's like, okay, when we go through Kansas City, we're gonna hang out with Nick. And then you have a great time because you haven't seen each other in months, and it's like it's that feeling of like, I haven't seen you forever, and we're gonna hang out like over and over and over and over again. And I miss that.
Every day you see a different friend that you love, and and you guys have been doing it so long. You have friends, and myself included. We have friends in every major city in the U.S. It's all hugs. And if you've been doing this long enough, those are 10+ year friendships where you're like, I watched this motherfucker who used to be a crust punk guy, and now he has like multiple children, and he's an upstanding member of society, and it's wild.
I've seen people change and grow up. I mean, I've known dogs thousands of miles away that I remember them when they were a puppy, and I remember and then I've seen them die. Like, I've seen pets be taken into a family and then grow up and then pass away in the process of touring. It's like, it's crazy. It's like dozens. I've known it's like, I remember that guy's dog. That guy's dog was awesome. Oh, really? Oh, man. And then unfortunately, like, I've known a lot of people that have died too. That's another crime. I mean, if you know more people, you're gonna experience more loss. That's the downside. But back to the pandemic thing, it's like, on the flip side, I have been enjoying doing live streaming, and it's it's very satisfying and meaningful to do, just because that everybody's having a hard time right now. Yeah. And to think that you can uplift someone for a while, even if it's just for an hour or two, it's like it makes you feel that like music is no longer just like a convenience or just like a extraneous pleasure or whatever. It's like, it's a need. It's not a want. It's a need. It's a necessity. It's like, people need music right now. Like, it's a coping mechanism. I think that music is really good for your mind and your heart. It's like good for your mental state of well-being. And it's like, and I take it music in general much more seriously now. Just for even myself, it's like, man, it's like, dude, I feel so much better after just listening to this song. It just helped me like think through something. It's therapy, man. It's a form of therapy. If you take it that way, if you don't just put it on the background, if you just sit down and put on headphones and really listen to a song, it's just good for the soul, man. It's good for the soul.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what drew me to it at such a young age. Is it was the most powerful, visceral thing that I had been exposed to. I just remember when I was a little kid, I used to buy cassette singles. I had a cassette player back before I got my first CD player, and I would find a song that I liked on the radio, and I would buy the cassette single, and I would listen to the same song fucking 100 times a day. and then I would I would write down what I thought the lyrics were. Even like, I don't know if you've ever tried to decipher Axl Rose lyrics and pen them on a piece of paper. Yeah, you like I was. Let's put it this way. I was way off. he was.
Dude, one of my early initial like favorite things to do with the internet when it first came into being was to look up song lyrics, like especially if a band like never like actually posted song lyrics, but you could find them online. Like someone got them from a reliable source that this is what the lyrics are. I was like, oh,
you're like, yeah,
that's what he's saying. Oh, or like being able to look up the meaning of a song. That's really fun to do. It's like this song you've heard forever. And actually related to our discussion earlier, there's a Dream Theater song called Take Away My Pain. And I was listening to that song. It came up and I was really feeling it. I'm like, wait a second, what's this song about? And it's like, the song is about the guy's father passing away. I'm like, this song is so appropriate for my emotional state right now. I didn't even realize it, It's like, holy shit, it's like this little deep cut from a Dream Theater album. But yes, I did it in my own way. I didn't actually write them out by hand though. I just tried to memorize them.
Yeah, I just was obsessed since I was a little kid, and so much of it had to do with the MTV. Their depiction of rock and roll people as like superheroes. Like I just remember seeing Slash and Axl Rose and just being like, these are fucking superheroes. Like they're more than human, but they're just dudes. I didn't realize that till I started like meeting a bunch of bands and realizing that we're all just dudes,
Yeah, I mean, we really are just. It's all just dudes. Just dudes.
Even the
dudes that have like just spent a lot of time working on something until they got really good at it, and they had a disposition to love doing it and some aptitude for it as well. I don't like use the word talent. I like the word use aptitude. It's like you gravitate towards, getting better at this thing faster because you love it, basically, rather than you're just born with it. I don't like that thinking. It removes an element of control from your ability to make things happen,
I would think talent would someone like an Olympic runner or someone that's just genetically gifted to be able to swim fast or something like that. To me, like I think talent might apply to that.
That agree.
But
that's like a physiological thing,
Yeah.
Like, is it like it's like they just happen to have the right set of physical like features? Like, I mean, it's just not a lie. It's like if you're tall, you're just gonna have an advantage in basketball. No matter how, like, if you're short, it's just gonna be more difficult no matter how hard you work it. But this still doesn't mean you still can't be a short person and kick a tall person's ass by like practicing your ass off playing basketball.
Look at Muggsy Bogues. He was like 5'4". He was on the Charlotte Hornets, late '80s, early '90s when Larry Johnson was a famous basketball player. I just always was like, wow, that he was an NBA Jam, Muggsy Bogues. He was the shortest player in NBA Jam, 5'4" or 5'6" or something crazy. but
he was good. He could beat most people's asses right out the gate. And I mean, and I would fault that just that we put way too much value on like you're only good at it if you're the best in the world or you're number one. If you're not first or last, like that kind of thinking. Like, that's a whole other subject. But tying that back into the mental health thing, it's like you can, the danger in thinking that like, oh, I don't have the talent to do this or whatever. It's like, it creates a fixed mindset that now you basically do a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, you think you can't, so you don't even try. And then you don't even try. And then you prove to yourself you can't do it because I can't do it. It's like, well, how much effort, how did you really try? Really? Are you sure you gave that your 100%? Like sustained over a period of time? Really? I don't doubt that. It's just because when people really decide they want something, it doesn't matter whether they're best at it. They just enjoy the process of getting better at it too.
And that's something I wanted to touch on is, okay, for example, in my own existential crisis that I'm experiencing right now, I've dedicated all this time, decades, probably close to 30 years to like obsessing over music, playing a musical instrument, and creating with my assets or my these ideas that I have, all these wonky ideas that I have. And I remember, like, back to me being in middle school, there was a time where I didn't share what I made, but like when I was in 8th grade, I would just listen to White Zombie and I would draw pictures. And I would entertain myself just by drawing pictures of like dudes with like lightning bolts shooting out of their asses, or like fucking like monkeys eating people's private parts. Just like weird shit. And somewhere along the line, I was, it got to the point where all of these things I was creating, I started to put out into the world and garner a reaction, whether it was through social media or putting out an album. And I'm just wondering, because you're a creator yourself, like, is it easy for you and your crew to tap into that joy of just making stuff that makes you giggle and laugh, and not be as affected by its reception in the outside world? Because I'm finding right now is like what I get most down on myself about it's not whether or not I put in the work. It's not whether or not I consider myself talented or I consider myself to have a unique voice. Is it being digested, and is it causing an impact outside of myself? And I want to get away from that. So
no, it's a good mindset to get away from, because like I feel like the songs that of ours that have had not all of them, but like a good majority, enough to be statistically significant. The songs that have had the best reaction from people are the ones that when we came up with the idea, we weren't even thinking about how people would react to it. It's like, this is great. Oh, we got to do this. It's just like, just for me, I just want to hear this song because it'd be hilarious. I just want to hear what that sounds like. And you're excited just to do it for the sake of just, I want this idea in here to exist out here.
Yeah.
And and then that love that you put into it, I think resonates with other people. It's like, because it's coming from a genuine place. When you're like, oh, I'm going to write, oh, people will love this shit if I write it. It's like but do you love it? You got to love it first, and if you're thinking about what other people may or may not like, it's like, you're just not, you can still write stuff, but it's just, I don't feel like you're ever going to bring, or you're easily going to bring your best stuff. You still can. I'm not going to say that you can't in that mindset, but I think that it's definitely definitely stifles to some degree. It like limits your creativity a bit because you're afraid. You're afraid they're not going to like it. That's what it comes down to. And fear kills creativity. Like, you can't be afraid of anything. It's like, it has no place. It's like, children, when they're playing, they're not thinking about, oh, what will someone think about what we're doing? Like, would they like this game we're playing? No, they're just, they're just having fun. And so, like, I think fear is the element that is to be avoided there. It's like, you can think about like, I think people would like this, but it shouldn't be like, oh, what if they don't? Better play it safe. Better write something familiar and safe. And not genuine and authentic.
Right. I don't think I have a problem tapping into the genuine and authentic thing, but for example, the most viewed thing that me and my friends have done creatively is a song called I Got a Poot in My Boot, which is the silliest, dumbest shit ever.
I love that song.
Yeah, exactly. It's just fun. It's fun. And then, so flash forward to like 2017, I'm writing my dad has passed away, and I'm writing all these introspective songs about my feelings, and then I drop that shit, and it's like kind of crickets, People want poot in my boot, and
well, you've established an expectation,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's. Like, that's why we have Evacuate Chicago. It's like our serious material. We just put it under a different name because we knew that if we put it as a Psychostick albums, like people be like, it's kind of cool, but like, what? Where's the funny stuff?
Right.
You guys are funny. So that's the downside of creating a brand with your music, is it like sets up certain expectations, and then like you can be writing absolutely fantastic shit, but like if people are viewing it. For example, when I was younger, like I judged all music by like how many chugs were in it. You know how many? You know, like it isn't. And now I realize looking back, I've expanded my musical taste, obviously.
Yeah.
And I look back, and it's like, wow, this song is a fantastic song, but I didn't like it because it didn't go jing 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 jing. You know. It's like I closed myself off to the potential to like it because I was just putting in a set of rules, requirements that were just, you know, limiting. I mean, there's nothing wrong with chug, chug, chug,
right?
But there is more to life than chug, chug, chug. But I do love my chugs, damn it. I'm not taking that back.
Yeah,
it's just that I love more than chugs too.
Right. I love more than chugs by the band Extreme, the new ballad. But there's yeah, it's something to be said about that because I remember in the mid 2000s I was all butthurt about the emo kind of pop punk movement because I came from punk. You know, I know what punk is. I'm like, this is not punk. And then, you know, flash forward 15 years later, when I listened to those songs, I'm like, damn. I'm like, Fall Out Boy, this fucking Fall Out Boy song is catchy as hell. And I'm like fucking bobbing my head and driving down the road. And I'm just, yeah, dude, this is a hook, you know? Like fucking listening to Good Charlotte and having like this nostalgic, you know, this song isn't that bad. Sum 41, this shit rocks. And it's just funny because it's all the shit you never thought you would hear yourself say. Like, dude, this electronic music is so layered. I wonder what sort of production technique they use to make this. Like, it's wild.
Well, one of the more valuable things that pieces of wisdom imparted on me, like Murph first started telling me the idea, but he said, like, you know, it's like, listen to something that you don't like with the intention of finding something you do like about it.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea is that like you're going to end up listening to something you never would have, and be exposed to something that you wouldn't have otherwise that could apply to your music. And like, and it's true though. It's like if craftsmanship is craftsmanship, because that's what we're really talking about. Like, it doesn't matter if you personally, you can say like, I personally don't like this music, but I can respect what they're doing here, and here.
Yeah.
You know, and you learn, you can take away something even from a song you don't even like that way. You know, it's like, oh, I love the production on those vocals. I'm not a big fan of like most pop music, but man, the production is killer, man. Whoa, it's so good. The vocals are just so thick and 3-dimensional and shit. And I can't help but like, no, there's something to be learned here. This song is annoying as hell, but man, listen to that bass line. Listen to how it thumps in the system, you know?
Now, and you've been involved in the production of Psychostick music, just music engineering in general for like a long time at this point, right?
Pretty much since the beginning. Well, in the beginning with Psychostick, it's like one, you know, I wasn't impressed with a lot of the studios around Phoenix. I just wasn't impressed with the sound quality that a lot of the bands were getting from like the local studios. And even so, like the best studios there, were really expensive. It's like, because it's, you know, back then it was not cheap to record an album. You could do it for pretty cheap now if you buy a computer and everything, but it wasn't then. And on top of that, it's like, I don't trust a person that wasn't in on these jokes to understand what we're trying to do. You know, like I was very wary of that like of just someone, a stranger doing our music being like, okay, well, if you want to do a song about tacos, sure, whatever makes you happy. And it's like, even if they're not doing it, like you could make you a little insecure. It's like, well, maybe this silly comedy metal shit's not a good idea. Like the sound engineer is like, he's just kind of like not laughing at this, and you know, like, and I didn't want to deal with that, you know, and I thought that might like pollute the creative process. It's like, I'll just learn to record, so we can just do it ourselves, like at our own pace, in our own environment where we're like most relaxed. And I'm glad we did. I think it was the right decision. I think I was overacting though. I think because I've met a lot of engineers that are extremely open-minded that I would have had a blast doing, you know, Psychostick albums with, you know, but still, I'm glad I learned the skill.
But as far as the enthusiasm is concerned, like you're going to be way more enthusiastic about something that is your baby, something that you've birthed. So, and even if you're just paying someone, like let's say they get the joke, let's say they understand what you're going for, they're still just at work. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So,
Yeah.
and this is your child. You're going to make sure the child's hair looks right and the child is wearing nice clothes and has nice shoes and is happy, is fed well, you know? So, and that's a big regret that I have because I'm just now starting to get into engineering, the production side of things. Like I just bought Logic in 2019. Like I just got an interface in 2019.
Better late than never, man. Better late than ever.
And it's like, wow, there is like decades of learning. You know, there's like a decade plus learning curve if I want to make stuff that sounds like studio quality. And so I'm just like smashing my head against the wall because in my 20s I was just blacking out thinking that, oh yeah, Dad, I'm just gonna like pay someone to engineer my shit for the rest of my life because that's how the industry works. It's like, no, it's like there's smart people that are realizing that that's just you're lighting money on fire, you know? Like
Yeah, 'cause especially if you like. I mean, recording is fun. You know, it's like there's a whole other element that you bring in because I mean, there's the notes that you use, but then there's the tones that produce those notes.
Yeah,
and it's a whole other level of artistry that is previously locked to you because you don't, you know, you can't control the tones that communicate these notes. You know, like the tones themselves like matter. They're part of the music, whether we like it or not. Like if you you play a melody with one tone, it means one thing. You play, you know, Happy Birthday on a fiddle, it sounds happy. You play it on an organ, it sounds creepy.
yeah.
You know. Imagine being in a church and they start playing Happy Birthday on the organ. It's like, this is weird.
Yeah,
you know?
they do it in
And
a
it's the
minor
same
key.
melody.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, indeed. And I feel like at least in like the early 2000s, I felt like so much of the ability to it felt like it was kind of off limits. Like the whole recording process, it wasn't as easily attainable as I feel like it is now to get
That is
recording
true
gear.
also.
And so if you were in a band, it almost like you were forced to like raise all of this money and go to the studio. So, and I felt like that, well, that's just the way of the world. That's just how it works. You like get a bunch of money together and then you just pay someone else to do your dream project and
Hope it turns out good.
yeah. And I've been in a situation before where we dumped a bunch of money into a record and we got the mixes back and it's like, dude, it's like we've had demos that sound better than this. And yeah, and then you're just like, what have we done?
That's like that's exact fear that drove me to learn to like recording in the first place. I'm like, oh, what if we put all this work and spend all this money and then it comes back and I'm like, nah.
So
you know.
So what was the first record that you like had full production, self-production?
It was actually a demo that we put out like called Dialot. And then, but the first like one that I was like, that was an experiment. I was learning what I was doing, but first album we did that I felt like, I'm like, I think this sounds good. Was we couldn't think of a title. Now there's definitely things going back I would do differently, but I feel like the sound quality does the job for what we had and what we were trying to do at the time, and it's still like one of our most popular records.
So you engineered that?
Right. Do what?
You engineered that?
Yeah.
Wow. And
I didn't do the drums. I did the drums in the studio, and then did the rest. I did the rest. So tracked him in the studio.
Did you mix it and master it, or did you send it off to be mastered?
I mixed it down. We hired a mastering engineer because it's a good idea to have just like that last little bit of polish on the mix.
Yeah.
That but I did I did the bulk of it. I'd say about 75% of everything.
Wow. And what year did that came out? Like early 2000s, like 03 or something, right?
Yeah, 03.
Wow.
And we recorded the vocals and we built this big frame and we hung blankets over that and we made a vocal booth out of it, and it kind of worked. Yeah, it worked enough.
Yeah.
And we did vocals in Rob's apartment, and the neighbors probably thought we were insane. I'm surprised they didn't have the cops called on us with Rob yelling, like the shit that he yells for the Psychostick record. But
yeah.
And the guitars and bass we just did direct, like use a Line 6 pod for the guitars. So yeah, we just did it all from my apartment. I mixed it down in my apartment. got a set of studio monitors and would go and listen to mixing cars and check it and like, it sounded good, and it sounded really good in my room, and it sounds like shit when I play it back in the car.
In this Toyota Celica that just doesn't do the trick. Now, okay, so this is when you guys were just doing like local stuff in Arizona, correct? Like,
yeah.
When did touring begin after the beer song? Was it the beer song?
Oh, much after. Like, that song actually came out in 2003, and nothing much happened for a couple of years. And then like Rob had made that like Flash cartoon for it, and then like someone found it and ended up on E-Bomb's World, and people started sharing it.
Yeah. Like,
so it went viral. And this is before people, I mean, you take it for granted now, like the word viral, you know, it's like, but it was going viral like long before YouTube even had the concept of something going viral. That's what was happening though.
Yeah, it was pre-YouTube. It was pre like video sharing. I mean, like something like E-Bombs would be the only place you could see something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then the radio stations started getting their hands on it, and then like they started playing it, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, it went viral, you know, before viral was a term.
Yeah, it was pre-viral.
Viral, yeah.
We
were doing virals before.
Yeah, we were the first. Can you remember what your mindset was when you just were writing these songs with your friends? Like, did you have any expectations? Like, did the success of the song come as a surprise? Like, I just want to know, what were you thinking?
I'll tell you exactly the mindset that we were in when doing Psychostick. My thought was like, you know, we're probably the only people on the planet that will like this album, but I just want a funny metal album to exist.
Yeah.
Just for me, for my own sake. Yeah. You know, I just want to hear what it sounds like to have a whole album that's just heavy and just full of stupid shit. You know, and apparently we're not the only ones. You know, I thought no one would like it, honestly. I didn't think anybody would be into it, but there's a lot more metal guys that like are silly motherfuckers than I realized, you know?
I mean, even like watching those Pantera home videos, like they played some powerful, decimating, serious music, but like backstage, they're a bunch of knuckleheads.
They're just jackasses, man. They had a blast. They did all kinds of stupid shit.
Yeah,
you know. So, yeah, that's a safely guarded secret is that the evil, hateful metal guys actually just love to have just as much fun as anybody.
They have cats.
Maybe even more.
Yeah.
Because their fun's more violent and crazy and insane. They have more pent-up frustration and anger to turn into silliness.
So the radio stations got hold of it, and then what was the trajectory from you guys being in Arizona and then starting to just tour the country constantly?
Well, let's see here. We put the album out in 2003, and then in 2005, I want to say, is when it started to catch on, and 2006 is when it really. No, maybe it was in 2006, early 2006, but late 2005, early 2006 is whenever it started. Like the viral thing started happening. That's when we got approached by a couple of labels, and we ended up going with Rock Ridge Music, and they just, you know. It's just like once you get on that train, you just, you know, it's just one thing after another. You get signed. It's like, okay, well, now what? Well, we should probably play shows and go on tour. Well, how the hell we do that? Like Rob, we put all of our stuff in storage, and like when our leases ended, and like, you know, Rob traded in his truck for a van, and it's just like okay, we're gonna like just rearrange our entire lives to make this happen and hope it works. and it kind of did. We were in the hole a lot of money at the end of the first tour, but like we'd made enough context to where we could tour again.
Yeah,
you know, and then we got in the good old struggle to make it as a musician cycle. We were there for years.
Yeah,
you know, went through different lineup changes, is like, you know, the stress of, you know, trying to like stay afloat and keep your head above water made band members like, you know, get frustrated and leave, and it really stabilized for us. I'd say maybe starting just a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, it finally started to lock in. mainly because of like the streaming actually started to pay like Spotify and stuff like that. Like I think it's like that, that the story, which was true at one point in time, is that like, that artists didn't get paid shit for streaming, but that's not really true anymore. But I think that labels don't want people to know that, so they can keep taking more money from their bands. It's like, oh yeah, we didn't get paid anything from Spotify. They don't pay bands. Counting their money over here,
Oh yeah, the streaming industry made billions.
Theory.
The streaming industry made billions and billions of dollars last year. I forget what the like actual reported earnings were, but from my understanding, it seems like a lot of the majors they get paid out. The labels actually get paid out way more than the bands, and I mean that's how it's always been, like with physical media, but it
always has been.
It seems like now they have an easier time kind of like hiding it, or you know what I mean? It seems like
and I don't even know how. I mean, it's like we have it, like our contract with Rock Ridge ended like several years ago. It was just done. We finished the terms and we shook hands and said, and they were great. There was no hard feelings. It's like we're done. Like thank you. That was a great ride. That was a great ride, and we've just been independent ever since. So I don't even know what a modern record deal even looks like lately, because I haven't had to go through it. I just know the stories that I hear from other bands, and they're rarely good.
Well, that's
360 deals and all that shit.
Right, that's a beautiful thing that you had this relationship, this business relationship, and they just wished you well. It didn't get all fucking ugly and weird.
Like all the shady shit you hear about happening with labels, like not hard, nothing. Like with our label, like it just wasn't there, and which made me feel dumb because we were so cautious in the beginning. It's like, oh, don't want to get screwed by. And then there's like the we find the one like truly honest label, and we like don't trust them right at the gate. Which, I mean, I don't fault us for that, but it's like, they were good people, man.
That's good. That's rare.
They're good people. They're great people. It's like they were doing music for the right reasons, because they want to put music out in the world. That simple, and they did. But Rock Ridge Music, highly 10 out of 10 would recommend. Great label. I miss it. I need to call them. Say hi to Tom.
Yeah, hey dudes.
Good dude. He's a funny dude too. It's like I know that he just got a kick out of working with us because he knew it'd be fun. Just like we get to do silly marketing campaigns and stuff like that to push these records. Yeah,
you can get a little bit more creative with a weird band than if you're promoting pop music or some shit.
Yeah, because there's kind of like a protocol and like there's rules to the image and everything, but when it's a quirky band, you can just kind of get away with more shit.
Now, Matty J was telling me you have some philosophy nuggets, and being a dude that and we know each other, and I'm a sponge right now as far as like, okay, I'm gonna take in as much as I can from the outside world, and I'm gonna move forward, with intention, the intention to grow as a human being. What sort of nuggets do you give to a guy like myself, or do you just want to give to people listening to this?
Well, starting with exactly what you just said, like it's in Zen, it's called beginner's mind, and it's the idea that you put your pride down, you put your ego down, you put down everything and it's like, okay, I'm an open book, I'm totally open to whatever. This is what I want to do. I'm open to all advice. I'm open to all points of view. I am suspending and putting my previous thoughts about whatever on pause. That's called beginner's mind, and it is good to do that periodically, especially when you get stuck. And we get kind of do the opposite. We kind of double down on what we've been doing that's not working. But like when you're stuck, you should do the opposite. It's like you just see just simply say like, I don't know what to do. Like, but I'm willing to learn. So I'm willing to put what I know aside. Teach me. Somebody teach me. So that mindset is a very good mindset, like to be in the get go. Beyond that, I know it's like what are you looking to learn? That's the other question too. It's like you need to know what you're looking for, so that you find it when you find it.
It's I wish I could open up a screen or a book or something, and then it would just be written right there. It'd be like, Neil, this is what you're going to be passionate about now. Because I find I'm a cunt. And I mean that. And I mean that in the way where if I'm not doing something that I'm 100% fully passionate about, that I lack motivation. So what is essentially what is happening with me right now is I'm just waiting for that sign. Oh, here's the new thing that you're going to be passionate about, because I'm very passionate about performance. I'm very passionate about getting on stage with a microphone and a guitar and spitting on people, because so what happens when your identity is wrapped up into this thing that you can't do anymore. You need to find something else to be passionate about. And I do the podcast, I do the streams. I'm doing what I can to stay afloat. But you don't have the answer to this. I don't have the answer to this. Although my therapist says that it's inside, and it will surface.
I do have some input, but
here I'm gonna let you talk. But my whole spiel is what can I get lost in that will carry me through the rest of my years? And that's where I'm at right now. Yeah, I'm beginner's mind. I'm just like, okay.
The thing is, like, no one. The thing is, it's like partly is, I think our conditioning society is that we're waiting for someone to tell us what to do, and you reach a point to where there is no one to tell you like what to do.
Nope.
But there are guidelines and principles that you can follow, that you can recognize what to do. What I would suggest is that your first hint of something to try it and see what happens. And then what I think the trap we fall into is, like, we're waiting for inspiration to get started on something, but we just need to get started on something to see if it inspires us.
That's what my girlfriend said. She said, just try stuff.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, because you think you're waiting for, like, that big thing, but, like, well, let's talk about how passion develops. It starts with an interest, and this is from Grit by Angela Duckworth. I love her view of how it works. It starts off with you're younger and you have an interest in something, and so you pursue that interest, and then that interest you get into and you start getting good at it, and then you get good at that interest and you feel good about being good at that interest, and then you find a meaningful way to apply that interest.
Yeah.
And then you find purpose, but it starts with interest. And dude, I tell you, like, my experience is absolutely true, because I wasn't thinking, like, when we started Psychostick, I hope that we can make music that helps people through a pandemic someday.
Yeah, it was a premonition.
We didn't say that. We're like, hey, this will be funny. Like, that's all we're thinking of it. But as we've done this, I had no idea that, like, how fulfilling, rewarding it's like, because it's like, oh, we're just screwing around with it, but people need to be around screwing around sometimes. It's like that mindset of just not giving a fuck. It's really important. And, like, I've gotten letters from people, like, saying they were, like, they were going to kill themselves, and they went to our show and they ended up not that night. And thank you for playing that night. And that night I was having a shit night, didn't even want to be there. Like, very meaningful, but that purpose came later after just doing the thing. So I'd say find something new to be that's interesting to you. Then start there. That's where I would start. What's interesting to you? What's an interest lately?
It's hard to do that when you're so married to the idea of I'm this is who I am, and it's like, I don't know, is it? This is who you've been for the last 20 years. Yeah. But
identities are flexible, man. There was a point in time where it's like, there's no way I could ever just get up and pick up and go on the road. And that was my identity. It's like I was working at a web designer. It's like web designers don't just get up and go and tour. I can't just do that. But then I did, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
I guess I was wrong about me. And, like, our identities are very flexible. It's just that we don't realize that they are. Because it gives us certainty, I think. It's like, I may not be happy, but I know who I am, and that gives me a sense of certainty and control. And really, it's just like that, not wanting to face that uncertainty is like why we don't challenge, like, the way we view ourselves, our identity. But there's a lot of power in changing your identity.
Maybe I can be a superhero. Thoughts on the boys? Amazon Prime.
Hey, you're a rock star, man. You already are a superhero.
Have you seen The Boys, the Garth Ennis, the superhero adaptation that's on Amazon Prime?
No, I have not.
I highly recommend it. It's very dark and violent and sexual, but yeah, It's called The Boys. It's on Amazon Prime. There's 2 seasons of it, and it's like it kind of turns the superhero tropes. It flips it on its head. What if superheroes were in today's society with social media, being celebrities, being driven by corporations to sell more tickets, yada yada?
Oh God! Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I totally see that angle.
It's well done.
It's like if it really happened, what would go down? Like, yeah. I do have an addition to the identity thing too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Popped in my mind. Really good book I just finished reading, actually, called Atomic Habits, but it's about like habits. And his thing is that you can create new habits which will slowly change your identity. And the way he says it is like your identity is kind of like the sum total of your actions. So every action and decision you make is like a vote for that kind of person. So if you wanted to become an electrician, then you start doing things that an electrician would do. It's like, well, you start learning about, you start looking into why am I like losing my mind here? Like an electrical engineer, like what kind of things are they into and stuff. And you start getting into those things. If you want to be a dancer, you start being interested in dancing, and then like you go and take some dance classes and you do the things that type of person would do. And if you do it enough, sooner or later, it's like you have enough votes to like, oh, I guess I'm a dancer now because I've been dancing for 4 years. Like what was it that happened to me recently where I realized that I had a little identity shift myself. What the hell was it? Fuck. I've had a few. It's like it's a really satisfying experience. Well, there's an identity shift that happened after like the first few tours we did. It's like, I'm a touring musician. Look what I've been doing. I didn't feel like I was, but I looked at the proof of what I've been doing. It's like, oh, I'm a touring musician now. What? Yeah. Oh my God, what? And like realizing that, that shift had to happen, but it followed the behaviors.
Yeah, it's like what you were saying, looking back and being like, I did that. So if you do something enough, then I guess you become a person that does those type of things. So maybe I should try MMA fighting. Nah, I'm too beat up.
I'm not saying you shouldn't.
I have multiple physical ailments from...
Well, I'm not sure how much you have time for reading these days, but Josh Waitzkin, The Art of Learning, is a great study in this because the guy was a chess champion. Josh Waitzkin is his name. He was a chess champion as a kid, and then he went and learned to do Tai Chi, and then he became a world champion at Tai Chi in his like weight class. Like, you want to talk about like, identity shift. He went from chess champion to Tai Chi champion.
Yeah.
So it can be done. You can't sit there and say that identities are not flexible because like, that to be a champion is something like you have to like spend every waking hour doing that thing to become good enough to be at that level. And to shift from that, that takes some shit, man.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of time to read right now. I just need to read. I need to read. There's a couple books my other buddy recommended me, but yeah, there's that whole like holding pattern kind of feeling before you start getting interested in new things. They kind of like limbo where it's like you're at a crossroads and you're like, I've been doing this for so long. Is this who I am? And
it's who you've been. I mean, it's very accurate to say that's who you've been.
Yeah. But
tomorrow you're not fixed. It's not fixed. You don't have to you can choose anew. You can always choose anew. And we forget that. We forget that when we get into our habits and our comfortable ways of being, but that doesn't mean we can't still do it. But but I feel like when we go through a crisis is when we finally like, okay, maybe I'm willing to like change who I think I am now because I have no choice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what happened with you and your dad. Like, it sounds like you had an identity tied up in like trying to prove yourself, and then now there's no one to prove it to. So, who am I now?
It was fueled by hatred, and it's really sad.
If I can't hate, who am I?
It's really sad. Like some of the diatribes and some of the rants that I go on stage, I could just like in hindsight, I look at them like if there's footage of it or something, and I'm like, dude, you're like just a little fat boy that wants a hug, You know, you're literally I'm just like frothing at the mouth, and before I'm just like, this is who I am. I'm just talking shit. But when I look at it now, I'm like, dude, this is like, what an angry guy, and what a spiteful dude, and I internalized a lot of it. Like I wasn't spiteful or angry towards like people outside of me. It was all directed. Like there's such a self-loathing going on, and but then you can mask that in humor, and people will straight up laugh at you while you're crying, which is fucked up because it's like, dude, people are like, "Oh, that was fucking hilarious." And you're like,
yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah, you're like,
it's so funny.
I'm fucking dead inside.
Well, it is really sad on one hand, but I mean, you could be in pain and not make people laugh, you know. So I guess you could look at it that way, you know. It's taking an evil and doing something good with it, at least, you know.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's just time to grow from that, you know, and just do more, you know, because you can get the exact same reaction from people without having to come from a place of defensiveness.
Yeah.
You know, and guardedness, you know, but you're so right, though. It's like if you just look at most people, especially people that you can't stand, and realize that most of the behaviors that they have, there's something underneath that they're guarding with that behavior. There's some vulnerable feeling that they're afraid of getting out or even acknowledging within themselves that's driving like all their behavior. And I realized it just that like Darth Vader, the scene. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But I realized the part with
some people haven't, dude. Go ahead.
He takes his mask off, where he says, "Luke, you know, take off. Let me take this mask off." And he takes his mask off, and he goes from this incredibly intimidating, powerful, scary guy to this feeble, helpless, sad little man. It's like that is such a powerful image, and it's like if you think of everyone as a Darth Vader, like there's that vulnerable place that they're just guarding, and they that they have to do this ugly behavior or undesirable behavior or inefficient behavior because they're protecting something. That there's the scarred Anakin inside. It's like it really helps like have patience with people when they're being dickheads. You know, it's like there's an Anakin under that dickhead, you know?
And I would use that analogy a lot when talking about my dad. I would fucking call him Darth Vader straight up. So the fact that you just touched on that is kind of cool. A, and B, I would ask myself and people that I'm close to, I would say, well, what the fuck did Luke Skywalker did after Darth Vader died? And it's not even really, it might be explored in some of like the sub-series of Star Wars, but it's not. I don't think it's really in any movie except in the new movies. He's just in seclusion. So that's the question: is what do you do when your whole life you're trying to defeat Darth Vader, and then you defeat him? You realize he's a feeble, old, fucking sad person. He goes away forever. What do you do? What do you do then? You know. So
beginner's mind, baby. Start anew. It's like, well, it's time to rethink everything.
Yeah.
And grow and learn from the experiences you've had and incorporate it into something new. Something that, I mean, if you could take all that pain and then create something incredible with it, learning that you could only have learned from having those painful experiences and put good shit into the world of any kind, you know, it could be music. It could be like, I'm going to go and be a doctor. I'm going to go and build amazing skyscrapers that attribute to mankind's, at their best. It doesn't matter. It's like, but you can use that. You can learn from those lessons and turn them into something that you can look back and be like, if I hadn't had those painful experiences, I would not have had the drive to do this other thing now.
So I'm going to take all that pain and I'm going to make children's songs.
Hey, if you enjoy doing it,
I'm gonna make like depressing, suicidal children's music. So that'll show them. Oh man.
Well, I mean, I think of it this way: it's like you can, in a way, you can be the person that you needed for others.
That's true. Yeah.
In a way, I mean, like the fact that you called this podcast at all. Like, hey, let's talk about this. Is like you want to help people deal with a thing that no one showed you how to deal with. You know, you're taking that negative and turning it into a positive here. You know, and people need this right now. They need it. Like, they need to hear shit like this desperately. Like, this pandemic has just put everybody in a really, really bad place. We were already suicidal as a society before the pandemic came along.
This is
you know,
true.
like record level society, and like we've been sweeping mental health under the rug, and we've been trying to pretend that everything's fine when it's very obviously not, and nobody wants to talk about it. It's like, but now it's time to talk about it. It's time to talk about, like, yeah, why people do the things they do, and why I do the things that I do, and why you do the things that you do, and like be honest with ourselves. It's time for that, man. And that's something that we can both do, you know, moving forward.
I appreciate you know, because the format of this podcast too, a lot of times it was me talking to a significant member of society, someone that like was in, you know, like some sort of like quasi famous person. And this, what we just went through was so much more meaningful than me being like, so when did the band start? I mean, we touched on some of that, but it's like, I just want to talk to my friends and try to not lose my fucking mind, you know?
It's a very good thing to do right now, dude. Like, talking, like, there's never been a better time to call up an old friend, man. Seriously. Like, reconnect with the people that brought out the best in you, because we all need to like tap into those sources of strength right now, you know? So no, I think you're on. I totally see why you're doing. I'm glad you did this. This is a great idea, by the way. It was a great idea. You did a good, Neil. You did a good, Neil.
Yay. Hey, there's that validation.
Here's your validation.
But yeah. I appreciate you listening to my personal anecdotes, because that's the other thing too, is like I've gotten the comments before. People YouTube comments, reading YouTube comments can like cut deep.
I don't read them. I don't.
That's good.
I don't read them.
But I interviewed someone of prominence, and they're just like, what did they say? They said, why are you even talking to this great human? This great human, I'm just gonna leave names up. But this great human has more profound thoughts while taking a shit than you do in your entire life. And I just was like, you know, like, but that's why I like talking. Like, I consider you a friend. We've toured together for years and years. We've spent hours and hours and hours together. We've worked on music together. You helped record the last record. Like, so to me, it's like to be able to have a conversation like this and not just like have it be like an interview, have it be more of a conversation. It's meaningful to me. And yeah, this is my pre-therapy before therapy. So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your wisdom and your time,
man.
And
it's really weird is that like I have an identity, like you like you would call me wise, and I don't. That's not part of my identity. I'm like, oh, am I wise? I don't know why. Like, I mean, it's like putting me. I was like, but it's arrogant to think I'm wise. No. So I'm actually having a hard time accepting you calling me that. It's weird.
Well,
so I got some stuff to work on, my friend.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. People tell me nice things, and I'm just like, but no. You're well read. You're a smart guy. Like, I consider you a smart guy. Like when I was talking to Danimal, I am an imp compared to this gentleman. Like,
Danimal is stupid smart. Oh my god, that guy is so smart. Like, the nerdiest conversation that ever happened on tour was when Danimal Kahneman rode in our van. It's like, I should have recorded the conversations. You know, he's like a biochemist or something like that. Like, he's got a biochemistry imaging degree or something like that. It's just like, he's insane, like insanely smart. Yeah. So I respect people that are their intelligence level and also like I think everyone has a expertise in certain things, and you like you said just about being open is like I can be open to that. You're more well-read than I am as far as like philosophical stuff, and you know, and yeah, I just respect you, man. So it's like, yeah, thanks man. It's just my way of dealing with things. It's like if I have a hard time, it's like I'm gonna just go learn something that helps me with it. That's just my approach, and you end up learning a lot of shit, and then people like find it useful that you know these things that apply to their situations. Like, well, I guess it's like it started off as an interest, and then I started like understanding this shit, and then like, oh, people actually are getting, whenever we get in a talk in deep conversations, I actually have something to add, and they walk away with something for the conversation. That's a good feeling. It's like, so that's my purpose, is to read books and share what I learn.
Yeah.
I guess. Do I make it part of my identity? I don't know.
You were interested in ideas, and now you're an idea man. So,
idea man. Yeah, I like that. I like that better than wise or intelligent. I'm an idea dude.
Yeah,
idea dude. Call me idea dude.
Yeah, because and that's the thing, is like none of this stuff is necessarily infinite truth. It's just people's ideas, and
ideas.
Yeah, and that you've become exposed to, and then you're able to, have the capacity to remember and regurgitate and apply them where it's fit.
Exactly.
A dude with ideas. Yeah, I think you got to go, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do need to go. But like, are you warmed up for your therapy? Was this pre-therapy effective?
Yeah.
Were we successful?
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I feel better. I just need a nap, I think. Do you find like when the mental exercise of transparency takes a lot out of you? Have you felt that before? Because I feel like
it definitely can, because it's stressful. If you're really opening up, you're going to be a little bit stressed, and that does drain your energy reserves a little bit. Yeah. It's intense, but it's worth doing. So yeah, take a nap so that you're ready to do it again.
I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna load up on more stimulants. Probably is what's gonna happen.
All right, man. Well, this is good stuff, man. Thanks for having me on.
There's no naps in baseball.
There's no naps, dude. I love naps. Like if there's one thing that everyone should be glad for the whole staying at home thing, is the ability to take a nap. Like we're such a sleep deprived society. Oh man.
Yeah, because productivity is number one.
It's like naps actually make you more productive. It's kind of the other way around. It's weird.
Well,
I just try to keep going and going. When you're drained, it's just going to be shit work.
I read somewhere that it was Edison, or one of the famous inventor guys, just took like 2-hour naps like 3 times a day, something like that. Prince had a similar sleep cycle where he wouldn't sleep a full 8 hours, but he would just take these little power naps throughout the day and then just work throughout the night, like all the time, just constantly recharging himself.
I can see how that would work. It's just like use, replenish, and not really constraining himself to the normal circadian rhythm. Sounds tough to do, though. You're going against biology, but if you can control your light sources, yeah.
Yeah, all you need is a deprivation tank.
Yep. Or a light switch with curtains drawn.
I was trying to tell my girlfriend, I'm like, I can't sleep, because we're sharing a small apartment. I'm like, I can't sleep when you have all the lights on and you're working. It's like right by our bed, her like little workstation, because she does this Etsy thing. And she's like, but you pass out. I'm like, I go to sleep, but then I wake up like 15 times in a 2-hour period. But you got to be in the dark. There's science to that, isn't there? The being in the dark, that like you get better sleep.
It's true. I know that blue light really fucks with your sleep patterns too. And we have like blue LEDs on everything now, and that might be that might not, it's definitely not helping. And like, you can see that. So
well, it's a good thing I watch 7 hours of YouTube before I go to bed every night.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good for the old sleep. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go, and good talking to you, man. Like, but the podcast aside, man, I always love talking to you, man. And it's cool that we could do this.
I appreciate you, man, and thank you for your time. And let's put this on the internet and see if people say nice things.
Nasty YouTube comments.
Let's have people tell us we're, So
tell us about all the people that think more intelligent thoughts while they're taking a shit than this interview. Yeah.
They'd be like, why is this guy interviewing Josh? Josh, when he rubs his sack, is more profound.
No, they'll be like, what is this guy Josh talking about? He never makes any fucking sense.
Who knows, man? Who knows? Yeah, but can't let it get to us. We have to continue doing.
Yeah, we have to be strong. We have to have confidence in ourselves and look at our accomplishments and like acknowledge those accomplishments and recognize that they're valid, and that we don't have to hate ourselves all the time.
Okay. Work in progress. I'll get there.
Yeah, we're works in progress, baby. All right, man. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, brother.
Take it easy.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Bye.
Namaste.